constitutional means.
President Buhari appealed actions to fast-track environmental restoration of Ogoni land. House of Representatives to resume investigations into tax evasion by Stalin Group. Federal government forced to promote ICT in governance. First, Nigeria and China suspending existing relations. That's why we join us on NTA International News. I'm Sego Lawale. The Federal Ministry of Aviation has been directed to commence the process of securing the management of the nation's airspace over the oil-rich Gulf of Guinea. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the President also opens up on the NYSC scheme.
The interactive meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and officials of the Aviation Ministry centered on the Ministry's responsibility of overseeing air transportation, airport development, maintenance, as well as the provision of aviation infrastructural services, including safety and security measures in the sector. The President expressed concern that despite the strategic importance of the Gulf of Guinea to Nigeria in view of the abundant oil and gas reserves there, the management of the nation's airspace over the area is being maintained by Ghana since 1945.
We have a directive by Mr. President to start the process of securing the management of the Nigerian airspace over the Gulf of Guinea. There is a move on the ground by Togo and the Republic of Benin to take over the management of their own airspace from Ghana.
President Buhari is also not happy that Nigeria does not have a national carrier.
He has directed the ministry to look into the possibility of having a national carrier as soon as possible.
The Permanent Secretary also briefed the President on the progress of work so far on the new airport terminal projects in the country being financed by a loan facility from China Exim Bank, saying they will be ready for commissioning by the end of the first quarter of 2016. The Permanent Secretary, who led heads of the various parastatals under the Ministry of Aviation to the briefing, assured President Muhammadu Buhari and indeed Nigerians that the nation's airspace is safe and secured for air travel. President Buhari was also briefed by officials of the Ministry of Youth Development led by the Permanent Secretary Rabi Jimeta. One major highlight of the engagement with the President is the resolve by the governing APC to sustain the NYSC scheme established in 1973. The scheme is meant to inculcate discipline in Nigerian youth by instilling in them a tradition of industry at work and of patriotic and loyal service to the nation in any situation they find themselves.
And he feels that the National Youth Service Corps ideals are still relevant to the needs of the country. He directed that the NYSC should continue as it is, because initially we were worried with the growing number of the corps members over the years. By the year 2020, the projection is that we are going to have 300,000 youth corps to be graduated by the NYSC. And we are worried and concerned with the dwindling resources whether NYSC will be able to cater for this growing number of youth. But he assured us that his administration is poised to continue with the NYSC because of its great ideals.
The briefing by the Federal Ministry of Youth Development also focused on its mandate of empowering the Nigerian youth to become self-reliant and socially responsible citizens. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
In keeping with President Muhammadu Buhari's avowed commitment to working for the development and well-being of all Nigerians, the President has approved several actions to fast-track the long-delayed implementation of the United Nations Environmental Programme Unit report on the environmental restoration of Ogoni land. The actions approved by President Buhari based on recommendations of the Executive Director of UNEP, the UNEP Special Representative for Ogoni land, Permanent Secretaries of the Federal Ministries of the Environment and Petroleum Resources, and other stakeholders include the amendment of the official gazette establishing the hydrocarbon pollution restoration project to reflect a new governance framework comprising a governing council, a board of trustees and project management. Aside approving the hired governing council and board of trustees, President Buhari also directed that a contribution deposit of $10 million be made available to stakeholders within 30 days of the appointment of members of the Board of Trustees for the Trust Fund. The directors of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) have been reduced from 8 to 4. 4 new group executive directors have subsequently been appointed to head the new directives. The new directorates are refining and engineering, exploration and production, commercial and investment, as well as finance. The restructuring is coming barely 24 hours after President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Dr. Ibe Kachiku as the new group managing director. The widely acknowledged entrepreneurial spirit by Nigerians is increasingly becoming manifest on the African continent. The latest of such is the establishment of a cement and coal power plant in Zambia by Nigeria's Aliko Dangote. Both plants have been commissioned by Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. State House correspondent G.D. Olufade reports from Zambia.
Leading the pack of investors of African origin is Nigeria's Aliko Dangote, who is taking the African continent by storm through huge investments in manufacturing of essential products. This massive cement plant in Dola province, Zambia, is one of such investments, which now form part of similar cement plants in 14 other African countries, with 2 others in South Africa and Tanzania waiting to be commissioned. Zambian President Egalungu, while commissioning the project, says this has further revealed the deep tie between the 2 countries.
This is what Africa has been yearning for. Africa investing in Africa for Africans. It's a good example of what we should have done at independence. But now, I think we're waking up.
Guest of honor, Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo identified political stability, human capacity development, and economic integration as critical to rapid development of the continent.
This source of leadership is no longer sufficient. The rule of law, protection of the right to private property, and respect for the sanctity of contract are constitutional pillars of liberal democracy that today guarantee an environment where commerce, industry, and professional practice can thrive.
The way to fight and defeat poverty is to invest. Investing could be made that will create good and decent jobs, which is what this party provides. I will continue to invest billions of dollars in African continent to make sure that Africa is out of poverty.
This is how Aliko Dangote is cementing his place in business history on the continent of Africa. In Ndola, Zambia, Jide Olufade, NTA News.
Thank you, Jide. The House of Representatives has resolved to resume investigation into the tax evasion by Stalin Group. The House noted that the multinational company is alleged to have evaded the payment of 15 billion naira tax to the federal government. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Oko reports that this was part of the resolution of the House in Wednesday's plenary.
The latest quota for rice millers under the National Rice Development Policy, approved by the immediate past administration in May 28, 2015, was the subject of discussion when Representative Abdullahi Farouk from Kebbi State moved the motion to resume investigation with alleged tax evasion by Stalin Group on rice importation.
Disturbed that when the Nigerian Customs Service shut down the warehouses of Stalin Group over non-payment of such duty, the presidency ordered the customs authority to reopen them pending the resolution of the matter. I see this motion more like a duplication of the efforts that has already been taken.
I think it is only appropriate, since we're calling for an investigation, to look into the matter again. And if the report affirms that custom has taken steps to recover these funds and they're indeed recovering it, then fantastic.
The motion was adopted and referred to the Committee on Customs and Excise when constituted to investigate and report back within 2 weeks. The House also adopted the motion moved by Representative Goodluck Opia from Imo State to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the immediate and remote causes of the pollution of Ahaji Ebele and Oguta local government areas of Imo State.
To urge the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to provide relief materials and assistance to the affected communities. I so move, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues.
Rising other matters of urgent public importance, Representative Emeka Ojam from Enugu State urged the House to urgently advise the Inspector General of Police to investigate the gruesome murder of the traditional ruler of Isiolu Amafo and 3 others in Kano East local government area of Enugu State.
We're further disturbed that the unknown gunmen engaged in sporadic shooting for a lengthy period of time, leaving behind scores of injured community members.
From the other paper of Wednesday's plenary, a total number of 5 motions were supposed to have been considered on the floor of the House, but eventually only 2 were considered as 2 motions were stepped down from the National Assembly. Ignatius, NTA News.
The National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress APC, Lai Mohammed, has reassured Nigerians of government's commitments to deliver on promises made to tackle the issue of insecurity, corruption, and the diversification of the nation's economy. APC's spokesperson disclosed these as a guest on NTA's flagship program, Good Morning Nigeria. Samuel Abdullahi has details.
Alhaji Lai Mohammed's consistency on APC's mandate to deliver on its electioneering campaign promises is well known, and this was yet again brought to fore when he spoke on issues of national relevance on Good Morning Nigeria. He feels quite sure and outrightly optimistic that President Muhammadu Buhari will resolve the nagging issues of insecurity as well as other development challenges confronting the nation.
With the kind of assurance we received internationally today in terms of training, in terms of military, I think it's going to be a matter of days.
The APC chieftain linked poverty to insurgency and argued that Buhari administrations understand the imperative for boosting employment opportunities in the country while helping the youth to harness potentials for skills.
What happened with this government is that everybody, whether you're a top member of the party or not, the self-censorship is restrained. Because when you have the leader at the top are very tolerant for corruption, even for you to be worthy of being in his presence, you must be above board.
Alhaji Lai Mohammed also addressed the issues surrounding the leadership struggle at the 8th National Assembly, which has however been resolved, the delay in the appointment of ministers by the President, and other critical issues of governance and the polity.
There are mutual understanding and cordial relationship between the Labour Party and the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC. The national chairman of the Labour Party, Alhaji Abdulkadir Abdulsalam, said those in Abuja were reacting to the alleged taking over of the party's secretariat by security operatives. Ken Fakeye reports.
Alhaji Abdulsalam, who maintained that there is no rift between the Labour Party and the NLC, however, said the internal wrangling within the party is being resolved.
Labour Party and the NLC, we are one and the same thing. Without the NLC, there is probably no Labour Party. So we are one of the same, and we have never in any manner castigated the NLC in a relationship. And the case that is in court, which I don't want to dwell in, was instituted by the former chairman at his instance, while he was a POT chairman, to define the role of the NLC and the Labour Party in the Labour Party. And that has not caused any differences among us.
It debunked the report that the party's secretariat has been taken over by security operatives at the instance of the NLC.
And no policeman was here. And today I'm in the office, operating normal political activities. So Labour Party is working stronger and stronger every day.
At the time of this report, the situation was calm and peaceful at the Labour Party's secretariat in Abuja. Ken Fakeye, NTA News.
The federal government says it will continue to encourage full deployment of the Information and Communications Technology (ICT) in view of its relevance to all spheres of development. The Permanent Secretary Ministry of Communications Technology, Dr. T.G. Olaopa, stated this while declaring open a 2-day seminar for senior officers of the ministry. He says ICT is strategic to the change agenda. Ibe Okala reports.
The International Telecommunication Union (ITU) had adjudged Nigeria as one of the fastest growing countries in ICT development, with over 143 million GSM subscribers and about 15 million internet users. The sector is presently contributing 8% to the nation's GDP with e-government in place. The Ministry of Communication Technology, which is the engine room for the ICT deployment, says there is no alternative to the sector in line with the change agenda.
We resolved that, following on that cue from the President, we need to begin to prepare the ministry ready so that we can be as strategic as the President wants us to be.
The seminar with the theme Managing the Change Agenda in the ICT Sector is also deliberating on the challenge of broadband infrastructure to ease connectivity.
Will enable not just change on a surface level, okay, it will change the core. It will look at the people aspect, it will look at the technology aspect, it will look at the processes that the government is following and bring about a change in the core.
Despite the astronomical growth in the Nigeria ICT sector, as pronounced by the International Telecommunication Union (ITU), the Communication Technology Ministry says it is poised to take the sector even higher in the spirit of the change agenda. In Abuja, Ruben Okala, NTA.
The National Committees on the Revitalization of the Agricultural Sector in Nigeria have submitted their reports. The 4 committees inaugurated by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development over the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari. Fatima Ali reports that findings and recommendations of the committees are expected to reach the President within 7 days for further action.
The committees set up 3 weeks ago to review all the existing policies on operations of the federal government storage and agro-processing facilities, resuscitation of cotton, textile and garment industries, development of grazing reserves and stock routes nationwide, as well as revitalization of agricultural extension services in Nigeria. Major among the committee's recommendations include the injection of over 37 billion naira into the cotton, textile and garment industry between 2016 and 2019, as well as exploitation of the existing 100 billion CTG fund domiciled with the Bank of Industry, which they said was converted to equity.
We are indeed poised to ensure that we kickstart, sustain the current efforts, and also galvanize all resources to ensure that, first, we are able to produce food for our people, we are able to create employment for our youth, and we are also able to add value and reduce the avoidable resources we are currently spending in terms of foreign exchange.
The committee also approved for the establishment of a national program on grazing reserves and the stock route development, as well as strengthening the existing conflict resolution and prevention mechanism, and to further boost food production through mechanized farming. Due to challenges posed by climate change, the federal government intends to add 60 tractors to the existing 80 in the tractor aerial services spread across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. In Abuja, Fatima Ali, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. We want to inform you that President Muhammadu Buhari has approved actions to fast-track environmental restoration of Nigerian life. Let's take a time, Nigeria and China to strengthen existing bilateral relations. Details in a moment.
NTA International. This is where the news begins. Every breaking news and development on the African continent.
Welcome to NTA International News. State House correspondent Hamza in-depth news analysis and professional perspectives on all sides of the story.
Experts say the issue of
National energies and resources must be mobilized every day on NTA International. We take you inside Africa and the world. NTA International News. Africa as it is.
The state is one of the few states enjoying relative peace in the volatile northeast sub-region. The recent suicide attacks in the state has attracted attention from concerned Nigerians. Notables are the wife of the president, Hajia Aisha Buhari, who is still sending relief aid to victims. Abubakar Vani has details of the report.
Nearly 100 innocent lives were lost, and more than that figure sustained various degrees of injuries in the 6 suicide bomb blasts that rocked Gombe metropolis recently. Many concerned Nigerians expressed worry, but Mrs. Aisha Buhari appears more concerned as she continues to come to the aid of particularly women and children affected by such deadly attacks. Twice in less than a week, Mrs. Buhari sent in hundreds of cartons of food supplements and tomato paste to pregnant and lactating mothers affected by the ugly incident. Her latest humanitarian support came in cash, presented to the victims by Representative Aisha Duku and Mrs. Yelwadan Jumugoji at the Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe and the Specialist Hospital Gombe.
After our first visit to distribute the free supplements, nutritional supplements to our mother, we thought we should tell her exactly the condition of the patient, and being a caring mother in her magnanimity, decided to assist the patient.
Mrs. Buhari's special interest in the plight of victims of insurgency is not only appreciated by the beneficiaries and healthcare providers, but also by individuals and organizations.
She just many things. We are really happy for it. We appreciate her so much. We thank her for remembering them, because if she doesn't remember them, we just be there suffering.
Also applauded by the people of Gombe State is the successes being recorded by the federal government in the current fight against insurgency. In Gombe, Abubakar Adamu, NTA News.
Nigeria and China are exploring ways of strengthening existing bilateral relations in the media industry. Anthony Forson reports that this is part of discussions between a Chinese delegation and the Federal Ministry of Information. We apologize for the loss of sound in that report. And national development, tourism is now bringing significant business to Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, and other parts of the region. Julieta Aina, who was in Lhasa, reports that as more visitors go to Tibet to experience the mystery of the plateau, some weather challenges need to be overcome first.
Characterized by rugged and untamed mountains, the Tibetan Plateau is the homeland of the Tibetan people living northeast of the Himalayas. Tibet is the highest region on earth. With an elevation of 4,900 meters, it is 16,000 feet above sea level. Lhasa, the Tibetan capital, is the second most populous city on the plateau. It sits at an altitude of 11,450 feet above sea level, making it one of the highest cities in the world. Tibet is now also inhabited by Han Chinese and Hui people and others. For those who are not originally Tibetans, it takes a while to adjust to the difference in air and weather conditions of the region.
It was like something shocking when I saw oxygen being shown on the streets. It shows how serious we are in making sure that you are comfortable. I was used to seeing selling oxygen in the hospital, But in Tibet, they want to let you know that you will have some challenges. That if you have these challenges, oxygen is available for you.
Sometimes called the Sunlit City by Tibetans, Lhasa City is mostly protected from some of the intense weather elements expected due to its high elevation. As the city's tourism sector grows, Tibetan guides are always on hand with the best coping tips.
You need to rest, you need to take water all the time, but most of all, you need also to listen to the advice given by Tibetan people.
In Tibetan language, Lhasa literally means place of the gods. From Lhasa, Tibet, Julieta Aino, NTA News.
Moving on to sports. Super Eagles coach Sunday Olise returns soon as Mayweather Jr. is set to fight in Patrick in September. Amazing Marcos has details.
Super Eagles coach Sunday Olise, who was unveiled to the media on July 15, returns to Nigeria next week from London. The former Super Eagles player who replaced Stephen Keshi traveled out after he secured the job and has been planning on how to make a successful career as Super Eagles coach. Coach Olise revealed the September 5 AFCON qualifier away to Tanzania in Dar es Salaam is very crucial for the national team's aspirations. After the conclusion of the second set of round-robin matches in the ongoing Nigerian Communications Commission Tennis League, 4 teams are on their way to the semi-finals holding in October. Team Ogun and Team Kalotari from the white group, with Team Ogun and Team Civil Defense from the blue group. In the last second round-robin match decided at the Abuja Tennis Court weekend, Team Ogun defeated Team FCT 2-1 to move closer to the semis.
I'm very happy that we get I think we qualify to the semi-final.
What gave you that edge to move on?
Oh, my coach. So he's really working with me.
You see what Ronke Akimbade played here. She has raised her level already because of the league, and that will reflect on their performance at the All-African Games because they've been in competition all year.
Head of Media, Nigerian Communications Commission Ruben Muka expressed satisfaction with the standard of play, saying they will always support sports development for Nigeria's glory. It is 1 year to the Rio 2016 Olympics, and the International Olympics Committee is working hard to ensure the local organizing committee lives up to expectations in preparing for the Games. Brazil has been battling with water pollution and delayed construction work.
There will be a Rio de Janeiro before the Olympic Games, and there will be a Rio de Janeiro, a better one after the Olympic Games.
Undefeated American boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. is to fight compatriot Andre Berto on September 12. The 30-year-old former welterweight champion Berto has 30 wins and has lost 3 times. After defeating Manny Pacquiao in May in Las Vegas, USA, Great Britain's Amir Khan had hoped for a September date against the 38-year-old American, who has opted for an opponent that has lost 3 of his last 6 fights. If Mayweather Jr. wins, he will echo the 49 undefeated record of Rocky Marciano, the legendary 1950s American heavyweight boxer. The Sports News Update, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
We'll now take a look at Thursday's weather prospect in Nigeria and some world cities. As we enter international news, thanks for watching.